Hey everybody, I'm Joshua Lubben and this is Amy Hamel. We're both artists here at Lot 23. Can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Yes. Again, my name is Amy Hamel. I'm a native Floridian, born and raised down here. I studied with Ballet Florida. I'm a dancer, actress, singer, although I haven't done my singing chops too much lately.
Which is funny because I think I've been slowly seeing more and more sides of you as we've worked together. The first time I met you, you were just a dancer. Well, and the NASCAR driver. Yeah, when you went into that Southern drawl, I was like, yeah, she's also an actress. So.
Oh yeah, I got my master's in acting at University of North Carolina, Greensboro. And I studied at Palm Beach Atlantic University. He also graduated from there. You wish you were a fish. And I had the honor of getting my dream show. I got to do Cats, the tour, the national tour, and the Broadway company until it closed. Holy cow, 20 years ago in September it closed.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
wow.
But I got to do Cats, and now I'm teaching at Palm Beach Atlantic University. I'm a teaching artist with Lot 23 and with the Center for Creative Education, and I'm just realizing that I'm doing this a lot. So,
I would do those things, I just wouldn't think about it. So do you miss Cats?
I do. It's one of those, I did it for 5 years, so.
Wow.
Yeah, as soon as that, it is. As soon as that music starts, I'm like, boom, I'm in it. I know exactly what moves we're going.
Do you think if you got invited to do it again, how long do you think it would take for you to be back in character?
Well, as far as character goes, I'd be in it in a heartbeat. As far as remembering the choreography, no problem.
Really?
Yeah, no problem remembering the choreography. My problem would be building the stamina back up because 2.5 hours of non-stop.
Because you're always moving too.
Always. Even when it's not your solo, there is always, you're still on stage and you're still having to act as a cat. So it would be the stamina side of things.
That's so cool.
That would be some work.
Well, Lot 23 is very lucky to have you here.
I'm lucky to be here. I really enjoy this program.
Yeah,
we're like a big family.
Yes, it really is the best community ever. So just very briefly about myself.
Yes,
I graduated
tell.
from Palm Beach Atlantic University. I grew up in the Midwest. I really got into folk music there and into writing my own music. When I was 5, I wrote my first couple pieces, and they were pretty horrible. But they had enough something in them for me to want to keep writing. And so I went to Palm Beach Atlantic for music composition and wrote a lot of music, had a lot of stuff premiered, had one of my pieces premiered at Mar-a-Lago.
Nice.
Yeah, but I didn't get to go.
I didn't know that.
Too much security, but it was cool. Yeah.
Congratulations.
But definitely one of the biggest pieces that I've written was The Luck of Roaring Camp. It was a full-length musical that my brothers and I wrote together.
There's 2 more of him.
Yes, there's two more of me. And we have a folk band together, and so we perform mostly in the South Florida area, tour a bit, working on getting some more stuff out there. Roaring Camp is a very different musical project because it was written for a folk band and full orchestra and a large cast. So it was our very first musical endeavor, and we definitely shot for the moon, went full out. And our alma mater was gracious enough to produce it under the direction of Alan McCoy. And so that was really the first time that we were able to.
That was our first collaboration.
Yes. This was our first project together, and that was the first time I'd ever met you.
Yes.
So you had worked at PBA, but that was the first time we had.
And I'd only heard about the Lubben brothers, the famous Lubben brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's when I got to see your NASCAR, which was pretty crazy.
I love that that's one of the first things that you remember about me.
Well, I was pretty new to acting as a whole. I had always been a huge fan of musicals. I'd written for musical theater and a little bit of musical directing. I still music direct around the area, and I've been lucky enough to do shows with Palm Beach Drama Works and Oxbridge Academy, and also Palm Beach Atlantic University. But I remember what really struck me was how you could instantly go from like the shy, introverted person, which is really hard to imagine, because you're not that way once you get to know you, but you were kind of like, hanging back and along.
I like to hang out in the corner.
And everyone is cheering for Amy, and she'd been on Broadway, but she was never going to tell anybody. but then you're encouraged to just give a little excerpt from some of the things that you've done. And when you went into your NASCAR driver, I was like, okay, I'm glad we've got her on board.
Yeah. Yeah, when I have to be Amy, I am actually very shy. People think I'm extroverted, but no. But give me a character, and because then I'm not have to be me. I get to be
more comfortable in somebody else's skin.
Yes, I am actually.
Wow, that's a study right there.
It is a psychological study. I wonder, but I don't know. It's fun.
So, how would you say that we work together? You say we work together well.
I say we work together very well.
Yeah, I agree. So just to clarify, as the writers of this show, I was also one of the actors / music director, writer in the show, and then Amy was the choreographer for the show. And it's always a scary process when you're meeting a large group of people for the first time that are going to all work together to put on one show. So you just never know. There's always going to be somebody that doesn't work well, that is kind of shaping with the group. But that person's definitely not Amy.
No.
I think we had a really good process from the beginning.
Yeah, and I didn't know you or how you worked. I mean, I listened to the music because you guys had sent me a copy of the music because I needed that to be able to put dances together. But I didn't know how you worked in the rehearsal studio.
Yeah.
And so it was very open. You guys were very open.
So how would you describe that process of how you as a choreographer get the show on its feet, and then how you interact with us as not just being people in the musical, but the writers themselves?
Actually, this was a really neat experience because the writers were in the room. It was awesome. Generally, most musicals, they're already done. You know the music most times. You already know the songs from it. So this being brand spanking new, that was a little daunting for me at first, and not really knowing you guys yet.
Yeah.
But through the music, I got the story, and I'm a very story-driven choreographer anyway. Again, that's where a bonus of being an actress and a dancer kind of helps.
Yeah.
So I just got comfortable with the music. Your music also lends itself; it really informs the movement.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's the first thing I noticed was the way that we would work together, because you would have a general sketch always. Like you would have done your homework. You knew the music.
I did the
homework. You knew all the beats.
Mm-hmm.
But there would always be that part that you left open, and you would say, "Let me hear it first."
Yep.
And I think basically every single number would always have a metamorphosis at some point just from you hearing it live again.
Yes.
Because you would have the general idea, but then you'd listen to it and then something would come. And I love those moments because the most brilliant moments of the show, for me, had nothing to do with what I wrote. It was never just because we wrote an incredible line or an incredible piece of music. It was those moments, the magic that happened in between, where
it all kind of came together.
Where you had that picture and you're like, that's it, that makes the show.
Yeah.
And for me, that process, that was amazing. It was kind of terrifying because everyone is looking at you differently because you put it together. And if you wanted, you could go to the drawing board and you could act a character, you could give them a whole monologue, and you just don't know what that's going to look like. But for me, it was kind of humbling because you just realize how little you know of a show. Like
Even though you wrote it.
Yeah, but like by the time it's on its feet, it's nothing like I imagined in all the best ways possible. Because
there's so many other discoveries and character-wise and movement-wise and even musically. Because I know I would have what I call a phrase, a dance phrase, where I would put together at least 4 counts of 8. I would have a little plan. I'm like, okay. So I'd have the movement and my own little vocabulary, and then I would leave things open, and I'm like, can I hear that again? Because sometimes, too, being a brand new musical, you guys would make cuts.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd come in the next day, and you're like, okay, you know that section? Yeah, that's not there anymore. Like, okay, all right. So...
Yeah, a lot of staying flexible is a lot of
huge part of collaboration.
Especially on something that's brand new and you just don't know it's going to work.
Right. Well, that's the other thing, is you might have an idea, like you said, even musically.
Oh, yeah.
Dance-wise or stage picture-wise, I might have something in my head that I think is going to work, and then all of a sudden I put it on 12 people, and I'm like, yeah, no, that's not, that's, okay, time out. And I had to go back, have you play it again, and okay, I can take this section, that works, and then just restructure. And I don't know if you noticed, but there were several times when I'm teaching, when I'm choreographing by myself, you know, it's just me, so I come up with the dance steps. But then to have, you have to put 12 people into that, the amount of times that I would do like this, that would be like, I'm trying to really hard to communicate what I want, but I'd open, if you could see the inside of my brain and make it happen. And
not just any 12 guys either. They're all college kids, some professors, but they're also all guys.
Yes.
And half of them maybe danced 1 or 2 steps their entire life.
And we're talking, there were some older actors.
I mean, I danced more than some of those guys.
Yes.
Saying a lot, because I always play for the dances.
And some of them came up to me on day one and said, Amy, I don't dance.
Well, that's gonna be a problem.
I'm like, well, and no, I gotta tell you, I really enjoy, I mean, I love working with my advanced students where I can just throw out vocabulary on a count of 8 and say, okay, you're gonna do this, 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 and this, and go. But I really love working with the beginners. Because what is my phrase? He's going to tell you my phrase.
Dancing is just fancy walking.
Dancing is nothing but fancy walking, just like singing is nothing but fancy talking.
Yeah.
And so I actually enjoy working with those people that think they can't. I'm like, we're just going to walk. We're just going to go for a little stroll, and then we might cross this foot over and think about going another direction. And,
which was actually perfect for what we wanted in the show too, because
we
didn't want any of that, like, you know, frou-frou musical theater.
There was
dancing.
no call for it in this show.
Because you're in a mining camp.
Yes.
And it's just a bunch of guys. Literally, that's kind of the whole premise.
They're hard-working miners, so that, again, informs
like
their movement and how they carry themselves.
I was thinking some of those pictures that you created, my favorite of all being where they're all grouped around a mirror and seeing themselves for the first time. That also made the cover of the publication for the university, because you know, like, that was it.
That was one of those moments where, again, I had it in my head. I had the vision in my head, like, how do I make it all happen? And I remember that rehearsal, and they made it all happen. They knew my vision, and they put it together. And then they got behind that mirror, and I was like, "There's your production photo right there."
Yep.
You're
and it was. And that's what I love about this, because as a musician, you can take your art so far, and you can envision it in your head. But it also makes me think of Wagner with the Gesamtkunstwerk, the total artwork, where you take all the art forms and you combine them into one. That was kind of his vision with opera. But if it's in very heady German and very high-class vocal performance that really only a handful of people can understand, it's still a highbrow entertainment or art form that can only be appreciated by a handful of people.
Yeah.
So that was kind of where we wanted to go with a piece like Roaring Camp. You're not just creating a musical theater piece that is fun and entertaining and you forget about it, but where you allow every single person, the choreographer, the director, the actor, the performer, the music performers, the music director, to take it as far as they could.
Mm-hmm.
And it was amazing, because I had no idea the kind of craftsmanship that would go into choreographing a show like this, lighting a show like this, designing a set like this. And it was just so humbling to see all these people invested into that one.
Yeah, how many people, how much of that village it takes to make that happen.
And it literally is a village. We have that picture of the cast and crew from day one, and I mean, I don't know, 30, 40 people that all work together for that one show. It's like, and then you're just that little person in the middle that had the idea, and you're just happy that somebody bought it, Yeah,
taking it and running. And I have to say too, like, there were sometimes with Alan McCoy when I would come in and I have something in mind, but Alan's like, oh, by the way, I need to have this character end up on stage right because of however he had blocked the show. No problem. Okay, so note to self. And then I'm like, I go to you and say, can we maybe just add 4 counts so that they can get across there, or
And that's the beautiful thing about a show when you are in charge as the writers. You don't have to worry about, well, you know,
I gotta pass this through.
Yeah, you can make those kind of executive decisions. So specifically then, let's talk about Fly Away, since that's our next project right now, is one of the numbers actually from Rowing Camp. And it's specifically, I could talk about the nerdy music part. It is a slip jig. So in other Celtic dances, a jig is typically like a one beat kind of thing. A slip jig introduces a hop in the middle. And if I remember correctly, when we showed you this initially, I don't think it was ever explained that it was a hop jig or a slip jig. But
I just
immediately
heard it.
we play it, and you felt the hop in there. And I remember just thinking about the movement. It was like all of a sudden the music went from being nice music to just being complete. Like that's exactly what it was missing. And it's so funny, you can play this kind of dance music, but until you see it lived out like that, you realize, wow, how much we really need to be able to join as artists and work together in these kind of creative communities, because you're only seeing or hearing such a small part of the total art, but we're so used to isolating ourselves and not coming together as artists to create these complete pictures.
Yeah.
And,
well, as dancers, we need your music. We need something to drive us, to make us move.
And when all that's happening together live, it's a magical thing.
Yeah. I liked Fly Away a lot because it's one of the few times that we had girls in the cast.
Yep.
We had 6 couples, so we had 6 girls, 6 guys. And again, it was one of those where I had the phrases, and the setting for that particular thing was just a release.
Yeah.
It was a celebration. It was kind of like a family picnic.
Yeah.
And you guys were in the corner just playing your music and making us move.
Where I love to be.
Yeah. And I'm glad that I picked up on that, because I didn't know that it was called a slip jig. I just learned something.
Literally
even now.
called a slip jig or a hop jig. And I remember the very first time you did that, you had that like kind of
It goes stomp, hop, step.
Yeah.
Stomp, hop, step.
Yeah.
Stomp, hop, step.
We just literally where it got the name. I'm like, wow. It's so cool. For you, that's so intuitive.
Again, your music informs.
Yeah, and it's like, as a musician, I'm used to improvising. If somebody can give me a theme, I can use that and I'll continue on. And it's the same thing for you. As a professional dancer and actress. You can take that theme, whatever you're hearing. I guess it'd be like me if I watched you dance and I have my cello or piano, and I'm like, I can capture the mood and the tempo and the growth and the development of it in my music, and you're doing that exact same thing in reverse. And that, to me, really is the true sign of a real artist. If you can hear or see that other art form and translate it into your own.
And sometimes seeing visual arts will inspire me too, like seeing the movement of a painting or something.
Right.
Even that sometimes inspires. And P.S., just a little plug, be on the lookout for a future video that we're planning on doing, where we are going to collaborate improv dance with improv cello and vice versa. And so be on the lookout for
Which
that.
is going to be
Stay
kind
tuned.
of a brand new experience for both of us.
Yeah, it will be. And I
be
like experimenting and playing.
It's definitely going to be worth it. So.
Yeah.
So in a future collaboration, what would your dream project be?
That's a good question.
It's a hard one.
That is a very good question. I might have to keep thinking on that one.
Well, I've had more time to think about them, so
That's true.
You can piggyback off of mine a little bit.
You had shared with me a book.
Yeah.
With those lovely drawings, and a story that was told literally almost just through the drawings. I would love to collaborate with you on that as well. Just hearing what your visions were for it.
Yeah.
That's
a really cool project, and I definitely want to dig into that. So the book is called The Mysteries of Harris Burdick. It's a very different kind of idea. We're kind of in line with what we're talking about, improvising with the cello and a dance, where allow the image itself to kind of be the catalyst for the story that we either tell through the dance or through the music, probably a mixture of them all. And there's 14 unrelated images, and find a way to unify all of them through the additional element that we're adding through the dance and the music.
To tie them all together.
And personally for me, I think what would get me the most excited would be to do a process similar to Roaring Camp. With a musical though that I feel is a little more tried and true. I think my dream project would be getting another full-scale show. Doing something where maybe not as traditional musical theater as Roaring Camp was kind of more. Roaring Camp might have been even more of a folk opera type of thing.
Well, that's a cool way to put it.
Yeah, but where we let the music that's really just earthy and relatable kind of inform the development of the story.
Okay. I like that.
I'm sure we have many collaborations yet to come.
Yes. And that's the cool thing about it too is like I might have a vision or an idea, but you know, just like any other artist, just like a writer, you might get like writer's block. It's like I have this idea, and so to have somebody to feed off of with like I was thinking about this, and that might trigger you to go, oh, and you know what? And then we could add this, or you know, and boom.
And sometimes you just need another artist to give you a kick in the pants to keep writing.
Well, there's that too.
Because it's so easy when you're just the only one to feel like, oh, I don't know if it's that good. Is it really worth investing this much time? And if you got something on your tail saying, we're still writing this.
Yeah. You know. Well, and a piece of advice that my voice for the actor teacher gave me, she would say, muck up the air, mess it up. Don't be, just put it out there. And I think that's one of the biggest things. It was also, she was also telling us, allow yourself permission to mess things up.
Yeah.
And because you at least try it and you go for some adventure that maybe you weren't initially thinking that would work, all of a sudden might be a discovery of.
That's awesome. I mean, those people that were willing to just go for it, mess up, take risks, are the ones that eventually write that flawless.
You have,
show.
5 years old. You start at 5 years old.
Yeah.
Do we expect you to be a virtuoso? No, but you started somewhere and you loved it. Yeah,
it makes me think of Theodore Roosevelt said, "Success is failure upon failure with great enthusiasm."
Ooh, I like that.
And if we can't accept our failures as leading towards the end, then we're just going to beat ourselves up. But if we allow those failures to be a catalyst to just allow us to say, okay, well, I learned a lot of things that worked. You know, Roaring Camp taught us a lot. I think it was a great show. I was really proud of it. I'm proud of Fly Away and all these other pieces that came out of it. There's a lot of things that didn't work, but it also really wasn't a surprise. This was really our first large-scale musical. But it also shows the importance of always drawing on people from all the other fields and allowing it to be a communal effort to create something that isn't missing any piece of that whole picture.
Well, and there's something too to be said for it that everybody that was a part of that can claim it kind of as theirs.
Yeah.
So I would, not to say that they're like I did that. No, we did that, but that was mine. I had something to do with that.
And just kind of the nature of a premiere, like the way that you've choreographed it, if it ever gets performed again, that is the reference point. That's such a cool thing.
Are you kidding me? I was beyond it. I'm like, a world, okay. That's very humbling
it
as
really
well.
is. It's like, I don't know.
Well, and like we were talking about earlier too, there was no need for the frou-frou stuff because this type of musical did not require that. So the movement was somewhat pedestrian and somewhat people skipping in a park.
And because you always drew on the message and the heart of it.
Ding, ding, ding. It's all about that story.
And whenever you depart from that and it becomes musical theater, then we've cheapened the whole thing. And that was, to take it full circle, those are the kind of people that you, as an artist, you're lucky to work with when you can see that it's not about their stamp, their signature, their name on the program. It's about telling the story. And that's kind of when an artist loses themselves. They lose it in the process and they just allow something that's bigger than themselves to happen.
Yeah. So. You got to get yourself out of the way.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. So I guess the bottom line is never shy away from just joining up with the people around you. You're going to make mistakes.
Play and experiment.
Yeah, it's always worth it. Always take the plunge. And it's been a real pleasure to have this chat with you, Amy.
It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
And definitely stick around for those upcoming videos, our collaborations, many more to come. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you. you.